Hey everyone, I'm the Tailorette, a historical costumer and creative sewist, and today I am working on the second part of my dress. Now last time I made the corset, which took a long time to do all that hand stitching, but it was definitely worth it because it looks very period correct. Today I cut out all of my pieces. I have my bodice pieces cut out here and some of the sleeve pieces. Here's the outer layer and the lining. So yeah, let's get started. So the first step is to sew the bodice together, and I'm going to sew the lining first, then the inner lining, and then the outer, and then I will try them on top of each other as layers rather than sewing them all at the same size. So here I'm marking where I'm supposed to sew it down to because I'm not supposed to sew all the way down but go to this line. So this is kind of an interesting construction, but you put these two together here and you stitch along this line. So I went ahead and actually sewed all of the layers together so I don't have to keep coming back and forth to sew them together. And pressing all the outer pieces. Alright, so this is what the corset actually looks like when I'm wearing it. I am wearing an 18th century chemise. I know that that is not the correct style, however, it's very similar and it works just the same. So I'm going to use this and try on the lining first. Actually, I'll put it on right side in, wrong side out. My glasses on so I can see. So what I'm going to do is pull this around, overlap the front just a little bit, take some pins and pin it and allow for that allowance in the front. And there's going to be gores in the front here, so this is not supposed to fit like this. It's going to be slit open. Looks quite baggy here, so I'm going to have to take that in a little bit. In the back, yeah, it's quite baggy back there. Okay, so I took it off, but I have this pin in here showing me where I need to take it in. It's quite a bit, which makes me think I could have done a much smaller size, but that's okay. I have my two pins and we'll work from there with fitting, and I'm not going to take this off because it took a while to get it on. So until I have this completely fitted, I'm going to wear this. So. Alright, so I finished altering it and now I'm going to try it on and see how it looks in the mirror. Maybe it could be taken in the waist just a little bit more, maybe. Alright, one last try on. Okay, this looks good. I think I will need to trim these sleeves up a little bit and then we'll be fine. So. And here I am cutting the slits for the gores in the bodice so that it's not super flat in the front, and then I took it over the machine and stitched them in by machine. I was supposed to do them by hand, but I felt like I could do them okay, and I think they turned out pretty good. So they're a little rounded like they mentioned. So I ended up bringing them to the iron and pressing them open on the outer shell as well as the lining so that it was nice and flat on both the outside and the inside. Then I went and trimmed up the extra pieces sticking out for the gores so I could actually sew them together at the bottom. And then I would sew them at the bottom and up the front seams in the front. And then, so here I am stitching it right here. And then I brought it to the table and trimmed it up a bit. And then now I'm flipping it right side out. And I did an understitching so that it would be easier to press on the iron so I had a crisp edge. So I took it to the iron and here I am pressing it so that none of the lining sticks out at the back. And I got to the sleeve part and this is where everything fell apart and sleeves were really misshapen, so misshapen that it was not fixable. So I had to just put this project aside until next week. I am finishing my Pilgrim outfit that ended up on the back burner because I made so many mistakes, or there were just a lot of issues with the pattern and it ended up not being released on Thanksgiving, so it's being released the week after. So the changes that I'm going to make is I'm going to do different sleeves. I had more of the fitted sleeve with the wing over it. However, because the sleeve holes are a little bit messed up, I will not be able to do the wings on the sleeves, but I will be doing a different sleeve that's more of a puff sleeve, that's more wider, so it covers up a multitude of sins in the sleeve holes. So I'll be finishing the neckline, adding buttons down here. That's what I'm going to get started on right away this morning. So one of the big bummers about the sleeves that I made a mistake on is I didn't have enough fabric, so I had to go back to the store and purchase another yard of this stuff. So, so the pattern is super simple in that it requires me to cut just rectangles. I don't even have to cut out a sleeve pattern. So it needs to be 18 by 26 inches. And I'll mark that with pins. So perhaps I will do 18 here. And there I have my 2 squares. I don't think I'm going to do lining for this because it's so thick already. I don't want the sleeves to be too chunky. So I'll leave it at that, and I'm going to save this because I plan on making a dirndl with this fabric. So looking at the directions, it's actually pretty simple. Hopefully it ends up being as simple as it appears. So I'm going to do the pleating around the sleeves, but I have to make the channels here like I did before. I have my pleating stitches set in, and now I'm about ready to sew the side seams together. Okay, so I pressed it open and I'm going to roll hem this slit right here. Okay, so I added the bands around the sleeves. I did not show you how I did that because it's just basically like a bias tape around the edges of the arms, and then I'm going, or around the end of the arms, and then I'm going to attach this to the armholes on the bodice. Okay, so now I'm going to officially attach them to the sleeve. Okay, so we have our sleeves sewn on now, and I have to do something with the neckline. I also think I should shorten this because I don't feel like this looks very period correct with how long it is. I'm going to grab this guy and measure how long do I want to make this. I think I want to make it 3 inches shorter. I feel like that looks a little bit more period correct with how short it is, and then I will tuck in under here and stitch it down. So basically I did not video this part because it was just getting so tedious and I was ready for this project to be over, but I did hem it and turn it under and stitch it on top, and voila, it was done, and I did the buttons and finished the top from there. So I basically, for the skirt, did the cartridge plates, which I have a tutorial on how I did that on another video, see the link below. But for this skirt, I basically sewed 2 squares together, cartridge pleated it, and added a waistband. So this is the dress, and hopefully this gives you an idea of what the Pilgrims would have worn. They typically would have worn 1 or 2 layers of petticoats underneath this skirt. So I only have 1 layer, but that's because this fabric is so thick. I didn't want to add extra layers underneath. And they also would have worn a cap on their head, maybe made out of a lightweight white linen. And they also would have had wings, which I tried to put in the sleeves, but because the pattern was messed up, I wasn't able to put it in there and there wasn't enough time to fix it. So here we have it. This is the general look of what they would have looked like. This is the shape of the bodice. These are sleeves that they actually would have worn. They are period correct. And the shape of the skirt as well. So hit that subscribe button and like this video if you enjoyed watching it, and thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.